Hi there. Welcome to the Knits and Beads podcast, episode 7, I believe. I'm your host, Lorelei Erdo, jewelry designer who knits in her free time. This is a knitting and jewelry podcast, but today's episode is going to be mostly knitting. I'll talk a little bit about business stuff at the end, jewelry-wise, business kind of things. I sell my jewelry online. You can find me at my website, LorelaiErdoJewelry.com. I have an Etsy store, which is LorelaiErdoJewelry.etsy.com. I'm on Facebook as Lorelei Hill Erdo, and I'm on Ravelry as Lorelei Erdo, and Instagram as Lorelei Erdo. So feel free to friend me or follow me in any of those places if you're interested in seeing more jewelry and more knitting. I post a couple times a day usually on Instagram, and I always post my jewelry on Facebook first before it's listed in the store. So that's my intro. I'm gonna go ahead and get reorganized here and talk about my finished objects. So I have one finished object. I'm wearing it. This is my, oh, I don't have it on very well. Well, I'll just take it off and show it to you real quick here. This is my Sprig Cloche. This is a paid for pattern by Alana Dakos. It's got a beautiful little leaf border on it. It's asymmetrical. You knit the band of it first and then knit the rest of it in the round. It blocked out a little bit big, but I still love it. Love it so much. It is so soft. I've been looking on Ravelry for projects that feature this Acadia yarn. This is what I bought in Saratoga when I went to visit my sister, and I talked about it in the last episode. It's a DK weight, and I found this hat pattern and loved working on it. It took me 2 days. That's it. And when I say 2 days, I don't even mean 2 full days. So maybe 6 hours or 7 hours of working on it. This is the Sea Lavender colorway, Acadia, from the Fibre company. The techniques I learned in this particular project were some cabling, just like really simple cabling with, I just used like one of those little safety pin type of stitch markers to hold the stitches. And then I also did some short rows, which I really like short rows a lot. I didn't have any trouble with that technique. It was the wrap and turn style, so picking up wraps weren't really a problem. I didn't end up with any holes or any weirdness. There was a little bit of confusion when I started the short rows, but I ended up just kept going and worked right through it. So I was really happy with this project. I definitely recommend this hat for anyone. And there is another Cloche style hat from Alana that I want to try out that has an oak leaf on it. I believe it's called Oak Trail, and it's part of one of her botanical knits publications that she has out. This is the only finished object I have this week. So I'm going to move on to works in progress at the moment. Welcome back. I'm going to talk about what's on my needles. First things first, I do have a hoe. Haha. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hey. This is my sock. Finished it last week. This is a sock pattern that I got on Ravelry. It's free from Susan B. Anderson. And I did a little bit of a different toe than what she has in the pattern. I did a double decrease toe, which was tricky. I had a hard time. And I think it was because I was working on double pointed needles. I just had a really hard time, and I kind of lost my place at one point, and so my toe ended up being a little bit wonky. And I did a Kitchener stitch. It's for the birds. Mine turned out okay, but I didn't like doing it. I was just like, felt like I wasn't doing it right, but then once I got it all done. It turned out okay, I think. You probably won't be able to see it very well, but that's right there. And when I got done with the sock, I really like how it fit my foot. I have quite a bit of yarn left over for the second sock, but I haven't cast on the second sock yet. My dad has given me flack online. He's like, you mean to tell me you're not going to finish that pair of socks? Your sock turned out beautiful. Why don't you finish it? And I'm just like, oh, I know I should. It just took a really long time to make. I think the next time I do make a pair of socks, I want to do more of a patterned sock with something fancier, because I think that will hold my attention a little bit more. This rows and rows and rows of stockinette was not fun. I just didn't really enjoy it at all. I loved doing the heel. I loved that the heel flap, doing the slip stitches. That was fun. I loved turning the heel. That was fun. But then all this more stockinette, and then finally the toe, I was just like, oh, let me be done with this sock. So I don't know when the next sock is going to happen, but that's that. I don't have sock blockers yet either, so hopefully I'll get some at some point. So that's work in progress number 1. Number 2 in my Mrs. Brown's bags, I started a new shawl pattern this weekend on Saturday. The pattern is called Shaelyn, and it's by Leila Raabe, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I am knitting this shawl with nice and knit yarn, sport weight, in the Anchor Blue colorway. I will insert a picture here so you can see what this shawl is supposed to look like. My shawl doesn't look quite like that. My shawl, alright, if you don't know anything about knitting, then my shawl probably looks pretty damn good. I know a little bit about knitting, and so I do know that my lace sections aren't up to par. I don't know why I have such a hard time with lace. My counts are off every row, and I can't seem to rein it in and like figure it out, but I just keep going because I don't really want a frog back. So here's how much I have so far. It grows really fast. The pattern grows really, really quick. As you can see, there are wavy sections of stockinette and lace in between. But the lace sections on mine just look like little webby strips. Very webby. I don't know. The stockinette is turning out okay. Now, another fiddly thing about this shawl is that it's being knit on a size 9 needle, which is pretty hefty for the sport weight. And this sport weight is pretty thin. I mean, it feels a little thicker than a fingering weight, but not too much. So that's that. I mean, I'm gonna finish it. I might as well just keep going just like this, and it'll at least be consistent. But I don't really know what the problem is with the lace. I don't know why I can't wrap my head around it. It's just not working out. The yarn though is beautiful. I recommend checking out niceandknit.com for your next yarn purchase. They have beautiful colors. Like I said, this is the sport weight. I also bought some fingering weight from them that I haven't used yet, so I can't really review it, but this one is beautiful, this blue. I just love it. So that's that project. It's a triangular shawl, by the way. I haven't made a triangle shawl in a while, so I thought it was time. So, okay, work in progress number 2. I'll talk a little bit more about this bag and new acquisitions. This is a new bag that I just recently bought from knitpicks.com. I started another shawl on Sunday because I think the Shaelyn shawl wasn't working out great, and I was thinking, well, I want to work on something that I'm enjoying, because I do enjoy the Shaelyn shawl, but I'm not enjoying the lace sections because I know that I'm totally effing it all up. So I found a pattern on Ravelry, Veera Valimaki. Oh, Veera, I love her patterns so much. I have so many favorited. And the one I picked is called Fly Forward. It's just the black and white pictures from my terrible printer. My printer's having real issues lately. I don't know what the heck is the problem. The pattern, the pictures on her pattern are in a beautiful red yarn. It calls for a DK weight. And I had some that I bought recently from Madeline Tosh. So I am using the Madeline Tosh 80-10-10 blend DK from her website, and this is the Found Pottery colorway. And I haven't ever used a speckle yarn before, so I've been just dying to start something with this yarn. And so I am doing this Fly Forward shawl, and it's going really well so far. I love it so much. Here's the right side. So I'm just start, oh no, this is the right side, sorry. They look very similar, so. It's basically sections of garter with twisted ribs in it. And it's really fun. I just love it. I just really love it. I'm knitting this on my, these are Knitter's Pride Symphony Rosewood needles, my interchangeables. And this is just a 32-inch needle cable that I bought. So yeah, that's it so far. It's a pretty big shawl. I hope I have enough yardage. I have 3 skeins of this, so I should have enough. I'm hoping. This pattern also features my favorite short rows. And I have never tried the twisted rib before, so that's also a new technique for me. So that's all that's on my needles at the moment. I figured I probably shouldn't start anything else. I do have 3 shawls on the go at the moment. I'm sure what will probably happen is I may cast on a hat or a cowl, because this weekend we're going to Connecticut for Easter to see my in-laws. And I always like to have some car knitting and some different options to work on while I'm at my mother-in-law's. So let me just go ahead and talk about, I'm going to talk about new acquisitions. All right, new acquisitions. I don't have any yarn this week. And I actually skipped my Fibrista Club this month just to save some cash. So no yarn, but I did place an order at knitpicks.com because I had been eyeing some bags from the Sweet Fibre website, and they're in Canada, and Canadian post takes a long time, and I didn't realize that these particular bags are also on the KnitPicks site, so I went ahead and ordered from KnitPicks this awesome bag, and the tag says Danica Studio, and they actually have some really cool things from that studio, Danica Studio, on Amazon too. shower curtains that I am in love with. I just really like this botanical themed print. This is kind of a linen, but it's very stiff. You can probably hear it. I think it's because it's lined with kind of a faux leather lining. Doesn't bother me at all. I like it. I also got this matching Notions pouch with the little moths on it. So cute, isn't it? Has a nice little ring on the end so I can hook things to that, tools and whatnot. This has just kind of a fabric lining, but there is, I can feel stiffness, like that leather might be in there somewhere. Or maybe it's the fabric that's just really kind of thick and stiff. But those are new. Love them. I also bought this book, which was recommended from fellow podcaster Diane Brown. Cast On Bind Off has really nice selection of different cast-ons and bind-offs, which I think is very important to know as a newish knitter. I never know really what to do. They don't really ever tell you in patterns what cast on or bind off. Well, most of the time I just do a long tail cast on, and a lot of times in patterns I do see that's the recommended cast on. But it'd be nice to know other styles, and I think this is going to be a really nice addition to my library. I like the size too, because this could fit right into a bag, a project bag too, if I wanted to bring it along with me. I haven't heard of many of these techniques. Some that I have though, Judy's Magic cast on, that's one I've heard a lot about. I don't think I've ever tried that one though. So yeah, that's another thing I bought. And then to get free shipping, I needed to bump up my cart so that I could get, I think, how much? Maybe $50? And I was like $4 or $5 away. So I ended up picking up two of these little tools. These are like those little double-ended crochet hooks for fixing drop stitches, which I'm always needing. And I love this one because it's got a really nice small tip, which that would have been handy in the sock because I had dropped a stitch at one point, and oh my god, working with a regular size crochet hook to pick up the stitches was like not happening. I had a really hard time with that. So this is kind of a cool tool. Now it's attached by a little jump ring on this little snaky chain, and then attached to a key ring. And that's kind of handy because like a lot of project bags have a little loop, or like that Notions pouch has a little ring to attach stuff like this to. However, it's not easy to take a key ring off of this kind of a thing. So I think what I'm going to do is just open up this jump ring and attach it to a lobster clasp, and then attach the clasp back on to the end of the chain, so that when I hook this to my Notions pouch, I can just unclip the lobster clasp and detach the tool and use it and then reattach it. So that's my review on this tool. Handy, but not so handy when it's attached to your bag because there's no way of unhooking it from your bag unless you unhook the key ring. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I have a hard time with key rings sometimes, getting them to work quickly and efficiently. So that is my 2 cents on that tool. But I got 2 of those, one to have next to my seat in the living room where I do a lot of my knitting in front of the TV, and then one that I can keep on my notions pouch. I'm going to share a little podcast love. 3 new podcasts that I just discovered this week that I have been watching a lot are Charlotte and Gus. Charlotte is the cutest. She's, I don't know, 22 or 23 years old. I believe she lives in France, maybe Paris area. I could be wrong, Charlotte. I apologize if that is nowhere near where you live. She has a beautiful French accent that I love listening to. And she has the cutest co-host, Gus, which is a little yellow kitten that she just recently adopted. Charlotte is a prolific knitter, very talented, and has a lot of really great tips. She's actually designing her own sweater for her sister at the moment, which I really admire because I can't imagine wrapping my head around making a pattern. At this point, I'm still like learning how to read patterns and knit myself. So mad love to Charlotte, and I hope she keeps podcasting because I really love watching her. Also, another one is Maria Manska from Stitched in Sweden. It seems like, so she lives, I think, in Stockholm, and I believe she's going to school, but I haven't figured out yet what she's studying to be. But she knits a lot in classes, and she has a lot of interesting things to say. She has also been very talented in like kind of switching up patterns and modifying them, and that's another thing I admire. Not there yet myself, but the more I watch and the more I learn from these other podcasters, I believe that down the road I might be able to do something like that. So I appreciate you, Maria Manska. You are at the top of my list right now for knitting friends. So yay you. And then another one I just discovered today, and I'm afraid I don't know if I caught her name yet, but her podcast is called Make Things Club. The camera stopped. It didn't. And then I realized I only had a minute left in that segment, so I had to restart a new segment. This damn camera. The last podcast I wanted to mention is the Make Things Club on YouTube. It's a video podcast. She does all kinds of really crafty things. She's very easy to watch, super easygoing. I love her taste in yarn, and the projects that she's done have been gorgeous. She, of course, the episode I watched this morning, she showed the campsite shawl, which I have had printed out, and I've been a little intimidated to start because it's like 8 pages long and all the charts, and I just can't make sense of it. Can't wrap my head around so many charts. I don't know. Maybe it'll make more sense if I just go ahead and start it and see how it reads, but she did a wonderful job on her campsite shawl. And she also has been doing some sewing, and that's something I kind of want to learn also. I actually asked my mother, because she's a pretty talented sewist, has made quilts and things for us kids. And we come from a long line of sewists. My grandmother was a quilt maker, and she and my grandfather would make quilts together. And they actually made a quilt for me and gave it to me on my wedding day. And I just love thinking about them working together on quilting. So my grandmother is now passed away, but my grandfather, my mother lives with my grandfather and takes care of him. He has dementia, a little bit maybe Alzheimer's, but I think it might be dementia. So he needs someone there with him to kind of keep track of him and make sure he is okay. So my mother lives there, and she does all kinds of crafty things. She makes really cool rag rugs, and I gave her my sewing machine a while ago, and she just ran it into the ground. So now I don't have one, and she operates now, I think, from a vintage sewing machine. But I would like to buy a new sewing machine and teach myself how to maybe make project bags, because I am constantly falling in love with fabrics and that I see online or that I see at Joann Fabric, or so I would love to try my hand at that, or maybe just notions pouches or whatever. I also have been playing around with the idea of possibly dyeing yarn someday. I am so impressed with Charlotte because from the Charlotte and Gus podcast, she dyed that yarn that she is making that sweater out of for her sister, and it is amazing, so beautiful. I can't believe she just dyed that up and is now knitting it, and that is amazing. So if y'all can do it, maybe I can do it too. I don't know. I might need some help. I might need to win the lottery too, because from what I understand, there's a lot of supplies that need to be bought before you can think about dyeing yarn. So that's on a really back burner at this point. The only thing I want to talk about jewelry wise is that we are filing our income taxes tonight, and so I'm feeling nauseous about that. I had a great year, and that's the problem. I had a great year, and that's the problem. Thank you, New York State, for making it so difficult and so stressful to own a business in your state. I guess, I don't know. I'm just not in the situation to be able to set money aside all through the year for my taxes. I just can't, because I may have mentioned before, I pay the mortgage with my income, and there isn't a whole lot of money left over after I pay that mortgage. So I don't know how I'm supposed to put money aside after every sale, every jewelry sale. Doesn't seem possible at this point, but it might be something I really should try to start doing in the future, because at the end of the year when I have to do this tax return, it's so stressful. Because we always have to pay, and I'm not talking like a little amount, I'm talking like a lot, like over $1,000 usually. So that's all I got for you today. I know it's a really kind of a short episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to insert pictures of everything that I talked about, so that you can kind of get a better idea of what things look like, things that I'm working on. And I will have show notes posted below in the doobly-doo thingamajig down below, so you can check out those links later when it's more convenient for you. So thank you again for coming over and hanging out with me today, and I look forward to doing the next podcast. I'm hoping I'll have some progress to show you on my shawls next week. So anyway, see ya on the flip side.